Welcome to War Movie Theatre, where every time something blows up, a grumpy colonel tells us to do it again. That's right, we're watching Who Dares Wins. My name's Rob Hutton, and I'm worried that this podcast has been infiltrated by far-left terrorists intent on causing a nuclear explosion. To find out the truth, I've recruited a steely-eyed man with absolutely no morals. But why does he keep asking me about his permitted quota of deaths? Hello, Duncan Weldon.
Hello, Rob.
And looking suspiciously at both of us is a man who seems to be a pent-up bundle of fury. Is there anything he isn't angry about? Yes, it's Paul Bavill of the History Rage podcast. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Before we get to the movie, about which we have things to say, I think. Before we get to the movie, let's talk about why you're here, Paul. You're here because we're all going to be at the Imperial War Museum podcast festival on November the 1st.
Indeed.
And give us the pitch for History Rage. What's History Rage?
Okay, so History Rage is the podcast where I invite leading historical figures, minor historical figures, journalists, podcasters, museum professionals, authors, etc. And I ask every historian the same question. What is the one historical myth or misconception you really wish we'd all stop believing? And then just light that blue touch paper and let them rant. So for the festival, I'm getting in the absolute rage queen of History Rage, Alex Churchill, who is going to be addressing various First World War issues, one of which I'm absolutely hoping is the Christmas truce of 1914. So there's a lot to say about that. And then in the evening, for the first time...
Are you bringing a football along?
Only if I could burst it. But in the evening, for the first time, I designed the History Rage Showdown, which is basically three historians going toe-to-toe to try and win over the audience to bin off their particular pet peeves. So we have a representative of the podcasters, a representative of IWM, and a representative of the historians fighting that out.
Oh, well, that's marvellous. You can find links to booking the podcast festival on all of our show notes, and also if you just search for Imperial War Museum Podcast Festival, and it's all day, and it's November the 1st, and it's us and Paul and loads of other people, and it's going to be great fun. So this is going to be our single biggest bit of plugging. If you don't know about it at the end of this, we're just going to give up, I think.
Because that's how all marketing campaigns work, as I understand it.
I mean, maybe we won't give up. Shall I ask people about the survey again? Paul, you picked Who Dares Wins, and possibly with more feeling than I've said in any of our previous 50 episodes. Why?
Why? Because it's an absolute classic. Come on. I mean, who doesn't love a Ewan Lloyd movie unless it's Wild Geese 2?
Well,
I mean, sorry, how can you not enjoy this, you pair of absolute Philistines? Come on.
Okay, let's go. I think some of this may be in sort of, it may require Freudian analysis. When did you first watch this film?
I pretty much watched this film about a couple of years after it came out. So
about
you're looking at around about 84, 85. The Iranian embassy siege was still pretty fresh in my mind, because when that was screened on the TV, I was about 7 or 8, and it was freaking brilliant. And, I say that with the hindsight of it could have been really awful, but just sitting watching that. Back in the day, of course, when the news would interrupt stuff like that because it could.
Yeah.
So I think it was the best interruption of snooker ever. Because I was staying with my grandmother at the time, and she was always watching snooker or darts. And then suddenly the snooker goes off, and I've got all these guys storming an embassy. I mean, whoa. And with that, pretty much when this came out, I thought this is going to be okay. This is going to be good. It was showing our age here. It was AA rated. Which, for those of you out there, was before 15 and well before 12A. I mean, what even is 12A? PG. So I couldn't see it in the cinema, so I had to wait until eventually it came out on television, at which point I think I watched it a number of times in my life, and I think I was like 21 before I actually heard anybody swear in it because of all the dubbing that used to be on the TV.
the TV edit, yes, right. That would make sense. Duncan, do you have childhood memories? When did you first see this?
So I first saw this about 72 hours ago.
Right.
So I'm in a very different position. And
Were you even born when the Iranian embassy siege happened? I'm not sure you were.
No, I'm 1982. I'm 1982,
Oh,
and I therefore, I very rarely get to feel that young nowadays. But right now, I get to feel very young because I have no memories of the Iranian embassy siege. I'm obviously very aware of it, but no, it was after my time, so it never interrupted the snooker for me, I'm afraid.
No, I can't say that we weren't a snooker household, but I certainly was aware of the fact that it had happened, and I think slightly in my mind it gets confused with the Libyan embassy siege, which I understand. I mean, no, I was only about 6. I thought, have I seen this? And I thought I must have seen this, and then I thought, I haven't seen it, and then watching it, I realised that I had definitely watched the last 40 minutes while doing babysitting jobs in the early 90s. It was so I had, because I remembered the Lewis Collins commando role at a moment we'll come to. But I was thinking, why haven't I seen this? And then I watched it, and I thought, actually, there's absolutely no way that my parents would have sat through the first 90 minutes of this in order to get to the last half hour, which I think my dad probably quite enjoyed the last half hour, but there's just no way. I mean, a possible moment for discussion is at what moment my dad would finally would have said, I can't bear this anymore, which I think possibly might have been the anti-nuclear drama. I think that.
Yeah, my father-in-law would have checked out at the performance art. That would have been him out,
I don't think there's no way Dad's getting past that.
To go back to Paul's point of who doesn't enjoy a Ewan Lloyd movie, I mean, I'm not sure I've seen that many. Wild Geese, which we've done on this podcast, which I think is quite fun. I've seen this now. I've never seen the Wild Geese 2. I've seen, is the Seawolves his other mercenary film with the oil rig?
I think so. I know I've seen the oil rig one. I can't remember. Is the Seawolves the oil rig one with Roger Moore, or is that?
No, that's North Sea Hijack.
That's
right. Okay.
We have this conversation every time.
Where Roger Moore wins the award for most ludicrously British person ever. It's a poll between Roger Moore in that film, the late Queen Elizabeth, and Queen Victoria and Winston Churchill. Roger Moore is the classic Brit by a country mile.
Yeah. So I know. I'm not sure. I mean, they're a particular thing, Ewan Lloyd films, aren't they? And I mean, the sort of I think that you encounter these things either at your grandmother's house, or in the case of Tim Shipman, who did the Wild Geese for us, at your public school on weekend film screening. So
I'm sorry, just as a little sidebar here, it's like, can you actually imagine the horror of watching the Wild Geese at a boarding school where one of the lead kids in it is just left with the headmaster while this guy goes off to South Africa?
I think that's how they all felt. I think that's the appeal. When is Daddy coming home? So
character building, I'm sure.
So Lloyd lives near. There are crucial details about this. The Iranian embassy siege happens in 1980. It is 6 days long. Britain is transfixed. I mean, it's genuine. I'd say it's a top news event.
Oh, yeah.
The Iranians, for reasons that nobody can now remember, actually, much like the Libyan embassy siege, it's impossible to remember why this happened or what they'd wanted. The Iranian embassy is stormed by terrorists who take a load of hostages, and the British media camp outside, having the time of their lives, and then crash. On the evening of the afternoon of the 6th day, the SAS go in from the roof, and which means that they can be seen doing it on TV. And this is incredibly important, actually, because this is really the moment at which the SAS enters the British sort of public consciousness in a way that it hadn't. It's impossible for us to imagine, especially Duncan, a world in which the SAS were not always on standby and ready to go in for every news event. You know, you could just always write the SAS on standby because the SAS is on standby. That's who they are. That's what they do.
And
they
just as an aside, you know, when I was, you know, in the 80s, when I think back, you know, the popular image of the SAS is guys in full black suit, balaclava, and gas mask. It's this, and it's only after the first Gulf War, and your Bravo 20 and all of that we get this different image of the SAS in the, you know, camos being more like conventional soldiers.
Yes, the idea that they were actually involved in war fighting was quite surprising to me in Gulf War One. I just thought of them as terrorist guys. So it's massively important. And Lloyd, as I say, lives nearby. One of the things I think we will get to, and this is almost a History Rage episode on its own, is the accretion of every story about this film has had layers and layers and layers added to
hasn't
it. I have done a little bit of digging and got back to the early Ewan Lloyd interviews about this as opposed to the late Ewan Lloyd interviews about this. And the early Ewan Lloyd interviews, he hears bangs and goes inside and watches a rerun of the raid on TV. By the 90s, I think he's claiming that he saw the whole thing from outside the building, or someone is claiming that he did.
Yeah,
but
he
there are
did
lots
live
of claims.
just round the corner from it. You know, so when the bang happens, I mean, I'll be honest, when a loud bang happens, I tend to go outside and see what's going on.
Yes, yeah. So anyway,
yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, when a neighbour's car alarm goes off and you go outside, but in this case, it's the SAS storming a building. It's very different.
Where I live happens all the time.
And what is, I think, pretty clearly true is that Ewan Lloyd very quickly thinks there's a film here. And you know, by this stage, he's made things like The Wild Geese and so on. So he absolutely knows, and he knows there's a Ewan Lloyd film here, frankly. And that night, it is claimed, and I think that some version of this is true. He phones his lawyer in New York and asks him to copyright a series of film titles, including SAS: Who Dares Wins, which becomes this. He wants, he says, to counterbalance the anti-authority messages of films like The China Syndrome, Missing, and Gandhi.
I mean, that's a high bar. He's like, go hard or go home there, really, isn't he?
I never would have put this film in any sort of category of Gandhi, but there we go.
It's the only time they're in the same sentence. I too saw Gandhi and thought, what I want to see now is a bunch of these people just being machine gunned down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but there's got to be some content creators out there that are willing to do the Ewan Lloyd version of Gandhi. I would pay tons of money to see that. That's like John Woo doing Pride and Prejudice. I could get on board with that, you know.
I'll tell you, the bit where Gandhi climbs on top of the train is different in the Ewan Lloyd version.
Absolutely dynamite, that, isn't it?
Yes. So he sets about making it. There are some odd things about. I mean, how much do you guys know about the making of this film?
Not very much at all.
Some, because
go on, Paul. You tell us.
I'd
what you
say
know.
Not everything that you kind of read about it is actually true, and it can be quite hard to find out what is and what isn't.
Partly, it's a combination of two massive areas of myth making, which are films and the SAS.
Yes, that is like a Venn diagram that crosses in bright pink neon. There,
just on the SAS myth making point. So there's 30 to 35, maybe 40 SAS guys involved in the operation. I've been told that at least 100 memoirs of former members of the SAS have described their involvement in the siege.
It is often said that if all the people who claimed to take part in the siege took part in the siege, that the embassy would have collapsed.
I mean, the SAS even have a name for people who claim to be in the SAS. They call them Waltz for Walter Mitty.
Yeah.
There is a whole thing of, and again, it benefits from, you know, a policy of never confirm, never deny. Although sometimes the SAS, if someone is being particularly egregious, the SAS can be persuaded to deny.
I had a wonderful occasion of this in action at the Gloucester History Festival last year, where they had an evening with Ben McIntyre when he just brought out like the recent book on the siege, and he got to doing the Q&A, And this very polite lady sort of like put her hand up and said, "Oh, you will be aware of," and named two gentlemen and their role in the siege. And he just had to look and went, no, we know exactly who went in. We know exactly who came out. We know exactly how many bullets that they fired when they went in. We know all this stuff. He wasn't in it. And she just like, I've employed him for 20 years on the strength of this reputation.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, he handled it like a true pro.
Yeah, he will have had to do that a few times, actually.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, right. Well, true things. The writer they hire is a guy called Reginald Rose, whose name did not ring a bell. But do you know what else he wrote?
No, I didn't look into the writers.
No, I looked up the director, but not the.
Right, well, we'll get to it. He wrote 12 Angry Men, which
Really?
is again,
Whoa!
not very rarely do these two films appear in the same sentence. Which is 12 Angry Men is a great film.
Yeah,
and a great study of character. I don't think anyone's claiming that Who Dares Win is a great study of character, are they? So yeah, no. So he gets Reginald Rose to do it. There,
12 Angry Men must have been 30 odd years before this. Yeah.
I mean, I think he gets Ian Sharp in to direct because he liked Ian Sharp's directing of The Professionals, which may be significant. And Ian Sharp says the script was sort of never really finished and never quite worked, which I'm not going to argue with him about. But yeah, Ian Sharp goes on from this, and I think this is significant as well. The thing that everyone will definitely have seen that he's done is he does the action sequences in GoldenEye.
Yes.
Which are really good. So he is the dive off the dam, the tank chase through Moscow or St. Petersburg or wherever it is. That's Ian Sharp. He's really good at that stuff. We'll talk about which bits of directing he is and isn't good at, but he's really good at those bits. It costs £5 million, which was probably been about $10 million in those days. When the pound was strong, that's about right now. It makes. Again, I'm slightly going off the Wikipedia on this and trying to trace them around, but it makes $2.6 million in the US, which is why the two planned sequels, I think, never happen.
I'm surprised it even got released in the US in some ways.
Oh, well,
it's a very British film.
Do you know why
they did released? Protest it a lot.
But it has a celebrity endorsement. In fact,
doesn't it just?
It has the celebrity endorsement. See if you can work it out, Duncan. We've done him on the podcast, and he's quite important in America in 1982.
Is it Ronald Reagan?
Yes. And his cinematic judgment, that. So
yeah, but that's not enough to sort of elevate the US box office.
It's not enough, as it turns out.
It turns out quite the reverse.
Because, Ronald Reagan reads, The Hunt for Red October is originally published as a tiny print run, and Ronald Reagan gets a copy and likes it. And when Ronald Reagan says this is a great story, that's when it becomes a mass market bestseller. So, that, he didn't have the Midas touch then.
So he says it's terrific. Al Haig says it's terrific. They have a screen. Apparently, Ewan Lloyd flies a copy over. I mean, again, it's claimed he flies a copy over on Concorde so that they can watch it at Camp David. I mean, he might just have flown it on a regular flight. They definitely do watch it at Camp David, and they like it. And it gets released in the US as The Final Option, which is actually what the title said in the one that I paid to stream on Amazon this week. There are. Well, should we talk about the SAS involvement in it now? Can do. What have you heard?
I mean, the rumor, and I kind of tried to dig some more into this, but the rumor is that at the last minute, like anything happens at the last minute on a freaking film set. It's like at the last minute, the SAS decide that they're going to do the entry sequence to the American ambassador's residence rather than any of the stunt guys. And now I thought, okay, that seems pretty fair, but there was like 3 big brick walls in the way, which is like, number one, the actual commander of the SAS at the time, I think, actually wasn't going to cooperate with this film.
Billy Eyre, I think, at this point. Yeah,
I couldn't give you a name. I might even got his rank wrong, but it's definitely somebody important within the regiment was going, no, we're not committing to this. And secondly, this is just based on my limited experience of doing the film work that I've done. But at the last minute, if your director realizes we don't need stuntmen, either he didn't have any stuntmen and thought that was a lucky break, or he's still got to shell out a shit ton of money to stuntmen who are now not doing anything except eating bacon sandwiches. And I'm not sure of that. And my big thing for it is I watched, if you want to see something that's like the worst thing on screen, Rusty Furman does a review of this film.
Something that it turns out you may have delivered for us already. But carry on.
It's not as bad as Wild Geese 2. Rusty Furman actually does a review of this film and doesn't mention that at all. And I think that would be up there with one of the things, because, he's talking about he's talking about having to escort kind of Lewis Collins around camp and keep him like in line and maybe have him socialize and get to know the. If the SAS had actually performed that, I think he would have told us. He's told us pretty much everything else about this, so I don't buy it. Again, that's another bit of you and Lloyd myth making, I think.
So they definitely do talk to, at some level, they talk to some people who are SAS adjacent, and indeed, partly because, of course, there is a stock of, well, there's certainly a stock of people who claim to have been in the SAS, and
Lewis Collins being one of them.
Yes, well. Right. Yeah. No. So, so they may have had. There's. I think it's plausible that they had sort of some contact with some of the people in the siege. Partly because there's one bit that they say that they got from what actually happened that I think probably did actually happen. Yes. So, but the accretion of claims about the levels of SAS involvement in this have sort of have gone up. This is also going to be the film that is going to launch Lewis Collins into cinema. So he is known to, well, Paul and me, and possibly not to Duncan, as him out of The Professionals.
No, I'm aware of this.
Yeah, which I also used to watch babysitting in
Duncan
the 90s.
Might be younger than us, but he has UK gold.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
I now can't remember whether he was Bodie, wasn't he? Or Doyle?
Yes.
No, he's Bodie. So but he's a small screen star, and now he's going to be a big screen star. And well, let's pause for a moment and let's go to the after action report. Quick, Dad, they're on the cable car. Duncan, is there a moment that you'd like to be called in?
Oh, I don't want to miss the end. I don't want to miss the end. I mean, the thing is, you've got Mr. Goldeneye directing action sequences. He's good at this. And, I'm very happy to come in and watch all the commandery bits at the last sort of 35, 40 minutes. I'd quite happily watch again. I think it's quite well done. I could probably miss the first hour and a half, if I'm completely honest.
I like all of the bits where the SAS are SASing.
Yeah,
basically, yeah. I like the bit where they go to the SAS camp and they're all jumping over things and shooting things. I like that. I like the bit where they charge into the shoot house and they shoot all the people and then Lewis Collins sells them off. I like that. I like the stuff in the mountains and I love all of that stuff. Not completely sure about
because we'll bring Paul back in a second, because fundamentally the plot makes zero sense. You've got some really good action sequences, right? You've got really good action sequences. They're all well done, but what I don't understand is how we get from someone watches the drama of the SAS storming the Iranian embassy to let's make this about a plot about terrorists infiltrating CND, taking over the American embassy, and that their demand is to fire a missile at another nuclear. It makes no sense.
Well, we'll pause. We will definitely come back to that question. I should just summarize the plot for American listeners. And basically the plot of this film is, yes, as Duncan says, an anti-nuke group called the People's Lobby has been infiltrated and been taken over, in fact, by what do we call it? Radicals of some sort.
Radicals, yeah.
Not even clear who they're with. who are being funded by some kind of nasty foreign government. And Lewis Collins, who is an SAS captain, is sent to infiltrate them, which he does by taking Judy Davis to bed. But he doesn't learn anything, and over the course of an hour, and then they storm the US embassy and hold everyone hostage. And their demand is that a nuclear missile be fired at Holy Loch, which at the time was the US submarine base on the west coast of Scotland, where US nuclear submarines were. And then the SAS go in. Am I being fair?
Yeah,
I think you're being accurate kind of description of what's going
Paul,
on.
When would you like to be called in?
I'm with Duncan on the assault, but I do also, just for sheer horror, want to see that performance art scene in the club.
Right, so
because I have reasons. It's one of the bits of the film that in that first stage that I actually like, kind of the way that it's written and what it's doing, because it would be very easy to paint all these people as just nutters, which they are. But I don't know how much either of you have in your wilder, hippier student days flirted with far left organisations.
I've done student drama.
I mean, you're getting
Nothing
close.
this bad.
I was involved in student politics, so I'm fully aware of these organisations. The moment I decided I had no time for anarchism was when we were occupying the university exam schools in protest to tuition fees, and we'd been there for 3 days. And actually, one of the leaders of that protest is now a government minister, but that's another story. But we'd been in there for 3 days, and there was a decision had to be made on whether we were going to end the occupation or not. The case for ending the occupation was that the vote in Parliament we were protesting against had already happened. So now we were just achieving zero. But before we could have a vote on whether or not we should leave this university building, there was a debate on whether or not votes should in fact be binding. That was a particular low moment. So yes, I'm aware of these people.
Yes, I was more the environmentally side of it when I was at university. So proud admission here, I was a hunt saboteur.
Ooh.
I left pretty quickly. It turned out that nobody really cared about foxes. What they wanted to do was throw bricks at rich people.
Oh yeah,
and I was there. At which point I was out. But you go to these meetings and you do see an awful lot of performance drama going on. And you see an awful lot of environmentally cabaret. That's like, and when she asks him, what did he think of that? And he goes, it was a bunch of pretentious anti-American crap. They're bang on the money for what
absolutely.
these organizations are like.
I mean, I was ready to kill any and all of the people involved in that, just on the strength of that.
Yeah.
There was the best argument for a nuclear weapon detonation going. And I liked the fact that was in that. And I liked that they put Frankie Leith in as somebody who has an 8-bedroom riverside apartment and drives a Porsche. Like the freaking far left are, I like the fact that was put in there. And I see you see it again in the Wild Geese, that there is always kind of, there is like a more intelligent undertone that never really manages to break the surface in these films.
You feel like Ewan Lloyd has his targets. I wouldn't quite go as far as say he's a good hater, but he's got an eye for this sort of for other people's hypocrisy. Let's say. So
well, there's also, is this fair or not? You used to be more familiar with it than me, but given the actor, given the director, this is made 82, 83 of the film.
It comes out in 82, so it's made.
It feels, it's a bit after it, but it feels very like, how I remember both The Professionals and The Sweeney. It's like, it's fundamentally about an arm of the British state beating up baddies, and that's all good.
Yeah, people who don't wash.
Yeah.
People who work for the government versus people who don't wash.
Yeah.
And we know whose side we're on. I mean,
is
actually,
that fair?
No, it's completely fair. I have my big question about this is the Iranian. I'm completely with you and Lloyd on. You see the Iranian embassy siege and you say, film there. Great film there. Why you don't think the film is the siege?
Yes.
Sort of, because it's got a beginning and a middle and an end. In fact, have either of you seen 6 Days?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. I think 6 Days is a pretty good film about all of this, and that has loads and loads of SAS stuff, and it's got them, building. I think they build I don't know if they build a complete replica, but they build something like a replica in a warehouse somewhere, don't they? So they can just practice storming it, and all of that stuff. I just think is great.
But you're right. This film is much easier if its opening scene is the terrorists taking over the embassy.
And you get absolutely no value from the fact that Lewis Collins has infiltrated them, because he is also the world's worst spy.
Yeah. And you don't need the weird thing with the foreign officers attending the SAS training and all, which just all didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
as a plot.
I would, I think, because I do think the last half hour of this is terrific. There's your film, right? You know, you can start. It's sort of, you can start there, and you can get an hour of drama out of Hostages. I promise you. And
it's as if James Cameron had decided to make Titanic and said, but this film first needs 2 hours about their life on land. Because the real drama of Titanic is not the sinking of the ship. It's all of the stuff that...
Well, you're saying that. You watch Cameron's Titanic, and one of my big rages is like, bugger your love story. The Titanic disaster is actually dramatic enough that you don't need the rest of... And I'm slightly with you on that. I would say...
I'm a night to remember, man. I've never actually watched Titanic.
I'm with you here, Rob. Absolutely with you. Kenneth Moore every time. But if you look back at early 80s action movies, he's following the format of early 80s action movies. You follow the format of the Wild Geese. There's an awful lot of stuff building up before you're about 2/3 of the way in the film before they even exit an aircraft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Granted, you have got some phenomenal training scenes in that film that I absolutely love, and it's got some of the best lines in it. And you watch and read The Dogs of War, and it's basically a whole load of accountancy until about 15 minutes of gunfire.
Yeah.
It's just the way that works. So I don't really hold it against him at that point. You can see exactly the same thing in kind of the first Rambo movie, and you would see the same thing in Commando, all that sort of stuff. It's just kind of following the format. So
basically, call us in. I mean, there's no way. The other thing is, there's just no way that anyone I know is sitting through this if I'm not. So the bits in Hereford are good. The drama is its own thing, and the last half hour, which is indeed the bit of it that I could remember watching. She's not so dumb. There are women in this film.
There are.
There's Ingrid Pitt from, as I think of her, from Where Eagles Dare. I mean, she's in other things as well, but she'll always be and What a Disguise to me. And there's Judy Davis, and there's Ewan Lloyd's daughter, who plays Lewis Collins' wife.
And there's briefly Anna Ford.
Yes, playing herself.
So it's not, it's not terrible. Judy Davis.
I think the women have the best roles. I seriously do. Judy Davis, you might not have heard of her of a great many things, and I certainly hasn't. But I love one of the things that she'd said on an interview in the making of it as well, is that like people kept asking her about, did she base it on Patty Hearst? It's like, Patty Hearst is not serious enough about her politics. It's like, whoa. I mean, she goes on 3 years later, she goes on to get an Oscar nomination for A Passage to India,
which I had seen.
That's pretty big league.
Yeah.
I really liked, there are elements of the kind of Frankie Leith character where it all kind of goes wrong for her, but I certainly like the amount of work that she'd put into it. She behaved like all of the people of that ilk that I'd met in my time. It was absolutely ideologically driven. I mean, we say the plot is ridiculous, and it is to any right-thinking people, but you will find a lot of people in that arena that will be quite happy with the nuclear missile detonating on British soil and killing them in the process, and because it makes their point. It raises awareness. It's just so you do. And again, moving on, I like the dialogue between her and Richard Webber when they're almost having that debate in the dining room about who's the most ridiculous. But these people genuinely believe this stuff, and she got that across, I think, as well. And she's completely blind to her own kind of total hypocrisy of all the communism and stuff like that. So I really like that. And of course, Ingrid Pitt. Who does better villain than Ingrid Pitt?
Yeah.
And I don't care how over the top she wants to get. She is totally welcome to do so. I think when she's training them all on the Ingram submachine gun, I think her gun handling, gun safety skills leave a lot to be desired. Because she does that thing of like, load it, cock it, now put it down and put your headphones on. It's like, that's a live cocked submachine gun.
I'm not sure she's always pointing it down range either.
But, you know, she's delivering the evil. She's delivering the East German terrorist brilliantly.
Yeah.
And if I'm ever going to get assassinated on a bus, I wanted it to be by Ingrid Pitt with perfume and a headscarf.
The casualty list. Was anyone else keeping count?
I wasn't.
You want to guess?
No. As there's
I had my clicker.
Okay.
Do you want to make a guess?
I get one of the. I lost track with the number of people that were shot in the bus. The number of the original band that they got.
I think 4 people die in the bus is my view. I did actually try and count the bodies they were taking off. You never quite see it. It's 23, I think.
Okay, I was going to go for 15, 16. So okay, not
with
wildly
a level
out.
of variance. It's basically there's one death at the start, and then, as previously discussed, 90 minutes in which not an awful lot happens, and then an awful lot of people die quite quickly. So
don't forget perfume assassination.
I have got perfume assassination. Yes, yeah. That's there's a category for that. Cooler King Award. I mean, there's an American in it. I don't.
I would like to give the gratuitous American award to General Ira Potter, who gives his life in the spirit of being an over-the-top American general.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Good one. And introducing. Well, this film does not launch Lewis Collins's movie career, although I think they stopped making The Professionals partly because he thought it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had.
He goes on to make like
some
quite bad mercenary films, doesn't he?
Cocaine Wild Geese.
Yeah,
he auditions for Bond when they're replacing Roger Moore, and they think he's too sort of gritty. I mean,
see, the thing is, right? 20 years later, that's the Daniel Craig casting,
it is the Daniel
but
Craig.
it's just too early.
Would have nailed that at the time.
And you could see, in fact, because Timothy Dalton is who they're going for, and you can. There's a bit of the Timothy Dalton Bond that is, he's going to be a man who kills and drinks, and and isn't happy about it all, and you can you can see that they were thinking in that direction, but no, he was too early. Look at his his film career, and I think he thinks it was a missed. He thought it died out. That it was a missed opportunity. That it had never taken off in the way that it should have done, and I have some sympathy with that because he's not terrible in this.
No, his acting's fine. He looks right.
His double-breasted blazer is terrible in this. I mean, I have a lot of questions about his outfits, but he is.
Yeah, he doesn't phone it in. He does a good job. He's got some capabilities, and I think he transfers from small screen to big screen remarkably well. I mean, like I say, I like this film, so I was like always on board with that. And I'm not, as soon as I see the words Ewan Lloyd production, I am not looking for an Academy Award here. I am looking that I am going to enjoy myself, and I do. I spotted a few people in here that were bit parts that didn't necessarily launch their careers, but went on to do some pretty iconic things. So number one of tiniest bit part that I found was right at the end as the two guys are walking down the stairs. You've got Sir Richard, who then meets with Malak at the bottom to plan their next, how we're going to finance a terrorist operation that will go spectacularly wrong. So that Sir Richard is Paul Freeman, who 2 years later will go on to be Belloc in the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh,
okay. And it's probably the most iconic French villain we've ever had.
Yeah, that's a different
on screen. And of course, very briefly as well, you've got Patrick Allen, who 2 years earlier would, thanks to Panorama, achieve worldwide fame as the voice of Protect and Survive.
Yes, gosh.
And if you go, I'm not saying go back and listen, watch it again, but when he talks, it's like, oh my God, I can feel myself chill.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they all feel. I mean, Edward Woodward's in it. There's a lot of TV people. There's a lot of TV people in it. And actually, I have to say that the thing I found myself thinking, because I watched this for various reasons, just after watching some of All the President's Men with my son, and All the President's Men is made earlier than this, and it's 1,000 times superior. Just the sort of in every way. You just think when you're watching it's a great film, but when you're watching that film, you think, gosh, this is movie making, and then you go from that to Who Dares Wins, and you think, I thought this is TV making fundamentally. You've got a TV director and TV actors, and it feels very, it feels like an expensive ITV production from 1982. But yeah, so, Edward Woodward is good as the cop in a way that he would be good in lots of things like that. Throughout the 70s and 80s. He's bought it, Sarge. There are some candidates for best deaths in this. Who have you got, Paul?
So for me, I think the best death is the guy that just gets casually shot by the abseiler on the staircase.
Balcony killing is one of mine.
It's like, whoa, that's like... And, I don't want to get all nitpicky, but, here's what History Rage is about. It's just that whole thing of, is there any freaking fire control safety about the SAS at this point? And you have no idea where the target is. You have no idea where the two guys that are on the same floor, on the same balcony are. You're just going to, woof, bang, there you go. But do you know what? I love it.
Well, I think you take that. That's what gets you the GoldenEye gig, is you just show that clip. You say, I can do this.
Yeah. Although I want to do a hat tip on this as well, because a close run thing was the two terrorists are shot by the guys that have swung in through the window from the helicopter. And and it's like, it was either this, so I actually noted it in my implausible shots, but I really want to, if that pilot doesn't get a distinguished flying cross for being able to hold a helicopter with two guys to just plant them both through separate windows, it's like, what, the Army Air Corps need to have a serious look at themselves.
I mean,
So
I was going
to go with Judy Davis or Leaf or whatever, because I mean, yeah, I bit of tension. She gets killed. Our main guy seems a little bit upset for a moment, but then moves on with the rest of the drama.
Not going to have any awkward conversations with the wife. Yeah. That's probably a plus. I mean, the crossbow guy at the start. Crossbow death at the start is not a bad death.
Yeah. It's a pretty impressive assassination given that crowd as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
I've shot a crossbow. It's not. It's get it straight in his mouth. That was a shot.
Yes. So I've got crossbow death. I've got spraying perfume in the face. But balcony death for me is just that is the moment that if you haven't called me in yet, call me in when they're doing the balcony shot. That's amazing. In fact, that is also my one entry for good luck, the best meme. Does anyone have? I don't. I feel this is neither greatly memeable nor greatly quotable.
I was about to say.
I picked out two for this.
Go on.
For me, is top of the list is just when everything's settled down, but they haven't quite worked out where Frankie Leith is yet. And you can make the major just says, "All right, go." And that's the best 15 seconds of running you will ever see on screen. It is just joyous. And the music behind it, and I really like the music for this, and it just fits that perfect. And it's sort of soundtrack that matches people running down the balcony for 15 seconds. Now, at that sprint, that means that's one hell of a long balcony that they're running down that. But also, it's whenever the helicopters are taking off, and you get that kind of Who Dares Wins theme behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you are runners.
A little bit.
So yeah, it's a good thing it's a good soundtrack to have when you're running. Hell, it's a good soundtrack to have when you're ironing. You will just feel better. Running is just totally memeable for me. I could see that being on internet images with the words, "I've heard there's a new episode of War Movie Theatre out."
Well, yeah, we'll see if we can work that out.
And the other is, I don't know if you were paying a lot of attention to the protest at the start.
Mm.
But there is a group of people that are carrying a banner that says "Drop trousers, not bombs."
Stiffest upper lip. Are there stiff upper lips?
It's not a stiff upper lip film. It's not. It's
No, but it does have Edward Woodward in it.
It does.
It's fair.
And for me, I've got it's the Colonel for me is the stiffest upper lip. And it was a close run thing between the best lines, but it's as he's walking out at the end and he just kind of like turns to the American ambassador. It's like, terribly sorry, a bit of damage with the wallpaper. Leaves.
Actually, now you mentioned the Colonel, I've remembered my other meme is the best thing for me about this is every so often we cut back to Hereford and in the background, the Colonel doesn't do any work at his desk. He does all of his work on a radio telephone to his car, and in the background there is always SAS men doing something dramatic and exciting, like blowing a car up and leaping out of a window. And at the end of every one of these, he'll put the phone down and he'll say, "Again!" And, and about the third time he thought that, I thought, I'm amazed that no one ever spoofed this on, because it's sort of there's a Naked Gun sort of airplane level of ridiculousness to it. Again.
The other pattern I noticed is that there's an awful lot of scenes in the film where people are screaming "shut up" at people who aren't talking.
Yes. Well, a Naziest Nazi or possibly creepiest commie. I mean, there's the money man.
It's got to be Ingrid Pitt.
Yeah.
Got to be Ingrid Pitt. You know.
Yeah. She's just going to kill your baby because she's cross with you.
Yes, although again in the trivia, and it makes potentially one of the myths. I haven't found a primary source for it. Is that Rosalind Lloyd actually asked Ingrid Pitt to actually hit her during that catfight scene? Apparently, did end up with Rosalind Lloyd having her nose busted by Ingrid Pitt, who spent a lot of the rest of the shoot apologising.
We come now to the Dan Buster's Dog Prize for the most problematic moment. How do we feel about the way the Lewis Collins character behaves in this film?
I mean, it would have been an issue raised in the House of Commons 25 years later and probably subject to an inquiry now.
Yeah.
There is quite a lot of public inquiry stuff happening here, except not Ingrid, the other one, they were both shot, so no one ever finds out about it. But it literally is. So this is the spy cop scandal is police taking women to bed in order to infiltrate left-wing organizations. In a way, this is probably the most plausible part of the film.
Yeah, at least he's direct about it as well, isn't he?
While as it turns out, also having families back home and all of that kind of thing. Yes, that sort of that, but it is definitely the bit of it that you just think.
Yeah, it's probably the only bit of the film I think that dates badly. You know, Frankie Leith's civilian clothing aside, which is so 80s it hurts. But no, it is, on the whole, 99% of that film stands up pretty well now.
I have literally no best lines. Does anyone have any best lines? Have we done that?
I mean, the wallpaper line is not bad.
The wallpaper line is all right, yes. And the "you throw a hell of a party" line is okay.
Yes, and let's not forget as well, live bastards, dead soldiers.
Yeah, that's all right, actually. Broadsword Radio. We now begin a 40-minute section on completely implausible moments in this film. I've got a list.
I have as well. Could I just
you
start?
Go first. You're the guest.
Could I just start? Because you particularly liked the bit in the mountains where they're punching the American and kicking the German and so forth. I would like you to go back and watch that again. And I just want you to assess the height at which Colonel Hadfield jumps from that helicopter. Because that's actually a lesser height than they used ropes to get onto the roof of the embassy. I am that nerdy.
Yes.
It's like, whoa, that's a guy in his 50s. I can't jump off a climbing frame now. And I'm younger than Colonel Hadfield in this film. But yeah, he jumps some considerable distance down and then climbs up to the top.
Even in my top 10. What else have you got?
So, I mean, the terrorist demands. I mean,
Yes,
I do
okay.
like justify them. It's like, I mean, the whole point of demands here is that they actually have a hope of getting met. But what
I
you-
find it hard to get beyond the terrorist demand, which took me
It
by
is hard, because
surprise when I was
if I try and follow that to its logical extreme, it's like, okay, you've taken over the American ambassador's residence, and now what you're doing is liaising with the British government to have a missile that they have no launch rights over launched at a base that's their own property, and you're expecting somebody somewhere is going to say yes about this. I don't think so. And the fact that they go, well, we're going to start, we're killing all your important people, but if we meet your demands, all our important people are going to die anyway. And, you know, I don't know as an American if she'd really taken in the geography of England, but it's pretty small.
I have a lot of questions about all of the intelligence operation and all of the counterintelligence operation that are the first 90 minutes of this film. Why are you killing a man with a crossbow bolt at a demonstration? If you've decided that you have an infiltrator in your far left group, you set up a meeting next to the Thames and you tip him in, or you stab him and you tip him in. That's easy, right? Well, you don't need to shoot him across the street in a moving target with a crossbow.
When most of the time his face is going to be covered by a megaphone.
Yes, when in fact you have machine pistols that you're training. Right. Why is Lewis Collins getting his briefing at a market before he has started infiltrating this group? So why not?
Because all of the meeting rooms in Hereford were busy.
Yeah,
Rob.
why not just have that meeting in Hereford? When you tell him that he's going to be going undercover and he needs to get fired from the NHS, not the NHS, the SAS.
Fired from the NHS.
Yes. Why not? Why not brief him then? Why not give him the whole operation then? Seems a good moment. Why is he having all of his agent handling meetings? Why do all of them involve him conspicuously giving people who are following him the slip in a way that does not work? Why can
I'm
he
not sure
just
the
phone?
SAS are built for counter surveillance.
Why can he not just go to a phone box and phone this guy? You know, there's no way that the People's Lobby, the CND, are up on his phones, right? It's only so all of right. That's moving on.
Mm-hmm.
How many leather jackets has he got in that suitcase? Because I think he wears at least two. And I don't know if you ever tried to pack a big leather jacket, but that's basically that's all you're getting in that case. And he wears at least two different leather. I just have a lot of leather jacket questions about this. And then we get to the fact that at no point does anyone, so far as I can tell, aim a weapon in this film. All of the shooting is done from the hip, which is that how the SS? I mean, we sort of.
I mean, it's a lot of it is close range. It's pretty hard to miss.
Yeah, okay.
I've got, while we're on the subject of kind of like Skeleton's background and everything like that as well, it's like this whole undercover operation
Yes.
is about 2 weeks at the most. And like you come back to Jenny Skellern, Rosalind Lloyd's character, and they're having these moments of, it's been going since so long and I'm missing my daughter growing up. It's like, you're a military wife. Right? I mean, this guy can get deployed to Northern Ireland for like 6 months and you get like 2 weeks. You barely notice he's gone.
Also, why do they live in a Muse house in London? Why isn't she in somewhere in the barracks complex in Hereford? You know, that right. lovely though their house is, which I'm not sure they can afford on a captain's salary. And the People's Lobby, having established quite early on that this man who is very obviously a spy, you know, sort of, and his arrival is suspicious, his behavior is suspicious, and they have concluded that he is suspicious, and then they conclude that he's a spy, and nevertheless they take him on their operation. I would just kill him. I mean, you know, what is the advantage of taking your infiltrator with you?
Yes, he wouldn't, you know, even if you take him along to the bit with the bus, just gun him down there.
Yeah.
Leave him in the bus.
You know, I mean, my understanding of sort of terrorist groups is that informers don't last long.
On this basis, though, right, bear in mind, and let's follow that point up with, like you say, it's a suspicious arrival. He's quite suspicious. They are suspicious of him, right? What must the guy who got shot with the crossbow at the start have done to give himself away to the level where they decide to get rid of him?
Well, and he does absolutely nothing to allay their suspicions. I mean, I don't know this is implausible, but I do also have problems with the MI5 and Metropolitan Police sort of target list. We know it's tonight. So it's date specific, the operation. We know it's tonight. It could be anything. I mean, there is this meeting where we've got the the Secretary of State and the Foreign Secretary and a bunch of American generals. There is that, but it could be anything. It could be anything that is definitely only happening tonight. That sort of just maybe put another guard on this.
I actually thought of you, Rob, based on the episode that you've done on History Rage, that as soon as the Colonel goes, I think I know a man. It's like, hang on a minute. Why are the SAS even involved in an infiltration plan when you've got the head of special branch there? It's just like, you guys who have long experience of infiltrating the IRA, do you think you could do something here?
Right. So I mean, the SAS are used in counter-terrorist operations in this time, but as I understand it, it's basically they're the guys who are really good at sort of lying in a bush for a week without anyone noticing them. It's that kind of sort of counter-terrorism rather than the infiltration side of things and talking to people. Yes, I have. Right. The Met and MI5 aren't following these people who they think, they maybe we could just...
They've got their names. They've got photographs of them.
Yes.
They know who they are. They know where they meet.
They keep going to this barn.
Is it just that because they say, oh, yes, they meet in this club here, and it's like the rest of MI5 and Special Branch must have just gone too much performance art for me to go in there and get somebody else. I can't listen to their preaching about the environment any bloody longer.
In fact, given what we know now, half of these people are from the Met. Was it the Hairy Squad they were called or something? They will all be Metropolitan Police officers who are have joined in the hope of getting a bit of extramarital nookie. Right, and then we get to the question of the helicopters dangling. So this is, I mean, it is, to be fair, an absolutely amazing bit of cinema.
Yeah.
Hats off to everybody involved.
After the fast ropes onto the roof, I think it's after they've gone through some of the windows. One of the helicopters just flies directly at the embassy with two men dangling by rope off the bottom, both of them firing from the hip into this building where we know that there are hostages.
And we don't know where the terrorists are.
Right. And they smash, and they manage to match the windows so that they both swing through the windows. I mean,
it is DFC right there, isn't it?
It is great, but I do have questions. And I don't
actually, questions are completely superfluous at this point because that is my turn my brain off and enjoy what I have just seen. Okay, I'm on board for all that. If you want to do ridiculous action shots at me, bring it. I love it. Lewis Collins' pointless commando role, I love it.
Yeah. You see, that's the one thing that I remembered from having from the time that I'd seen this was that bit's terrific, where he shoots a guy, rolls on the floor, pops up, and the second guy's trying to shoot. Oh yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's that's proper playground heroics. We've also, and in an unprecedented move for the podcast, we've had an email about the podcast before we've recorded it from...
Have we been infiltrated, Rob?
Yes, possibly. Listener Russell Phillips, seeing that we were doing this, is so angry about something in this film that he got in touch.
Hello, Russell. Thank you for getting in touch.
Russell. Really, honestly, please, more like this, please, from everyone. I get quite angry, he says. I really get quite angry. I get really quite angry about the scene of them removing bricks from a wall to break into Skellen's house and rescue his wife. I get angry because there's a myth that they did that during the Iranian embassy siege, and he's actually written a blog, and we'll put a blog post up with a link to the short version of this. And actually, I live in a semi-detached house and have had work done on a party wall. Is that the moment you start fiddling with the wall on your side, the plaster cracks on the other side.
Yes,
and I can absolutely confirm that happens. And so there is this is slightly unclear, and I think it's slightly unclear in the Ben Mack book. The Ben Mack has some version of this. The original source seemed this idea that what they did in the Iranian embassy siege is they go through from the Ethiopian embassy, which is next door, and they take all the bricks out and then crash through the wall. And the original source seems to be that sort of on about day 5 or 6, the policeman who's being held hostage, one of the terrorists says to him, "Was that wall bulging before?" And the policeman can't tell and can't remember. And it sort of, and that seems to be where all of this has come from. And that was sort of 6 days into a siege when everyone inside the building is certainly losing their minds. Yeah. So, but Ben Mack has a version of the bit that, quoting it, much of the cement pointing around the bricks on the interior wall of the Ethiopian embassy had by now been removed using a silent abrasive machine. With an air cannon, the wall could be collapsed, enabling a non-explosive entry. Whether or not this actually, I think they took some of the grout out or something to go through. But yes, so anyway, thank you. And if any other listeners are really upset about films that we might be doing in the future,
I like that I've triggered some rage for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. Absolute fury.
Our listeners really care about grout.
Well, he's probably had party wall work done. I mean, it's incredibly expensive. Right. So I had to fix all of next door's plastering.
I'm interested at the edge because you see at the end of the film that they all just get in their helicopters and go with a quick apology about some damage to the wallpaper. Yes. I'm wondering if that happened at the Muse as well, where if they just left this huge wall gap between.
The Ethiopians do put in a claim to the British government for the damage that the SAS did. I don't think that they complained. It's not clear that they complained about the wall or something. I mean, actually, the most implausible stuff about this film are all of the claims that Ewan Lloyd has made about it in the intervening decades. So many of which are sort of are on the IMDb page and are versions of. I mean, my favourite, and I'm only very slightly exaggerating here, is that the SAS told Lewis Collins he was too good to join them, which is the absolute classic 1980s kid in the playground talking about his uncle claim that So Lewis Collins was in the Territorial Parachute Regiment. By one claim that might be true, did ask to join the SAS, the territorial version of the SAS, and was told no because he was too famous.
See, I got one claim that he passed selection, but then his TV career led him to leave. Who knows?
But the timing of that doesn't work. Sorry, this is the rabbit hole I went down.
Yeah, good.
I think he joined the Paras after he started on the professionals. So, I mean, look, he's a tough guy. Getting into the Paras is tough. So,
doesn't he have a claim that he was almost in the Beatles as well?
He does have a claim that he was almost, and I couldn't decide whether I believed any of that. The Lewis Collins career that might have been is he decided not to audition for when they got rid of, was it Pete Best or the drummer?
The first drummer, yeah,
his first drummer. So he could have been in the Beatles. He could have been James
because
Bond.
he was an apprentice hairdresser with Paul McCartney's brother.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So he had an in via Paul McCartney's brother.
I mean, what?
This is the Wikipedia hole I went down, isn't it?
What might have been?
Yeah,
I mean, I think he could. I think he could have done more films, but
so almost a Beatle, almost in the SAS, and almost James Bond is quite the trilogy.
It's
to
the
have,
almost perfect trilogy, there, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Judgment at Nuremberg. I mean, are there any war crimes? I think there's a few crimes against cinema.
Do we count the gratuitous beating up of an American and a German soldier under your command?
No, that's all quite war crimey. I mean, and simulated war crimey. I mean, you're probably allowed to do what you like to your own people,
but
they're not their own people, are they? They're members of a foreign military. That's, and don't forget as well that the two of them come and do it back to him as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's all fair.
Well, Duncan, is this the operation that changed the course of the Cold War?
No. And I think we could swiftly move on at that point.
The Iranian embassy siege is the operation that changes the course of the SAS, as it were, or changes the reputation of the SAS. And this film is part of that.
Yeah, this film does accent the reputation of the SAS. The two combined will do that. And it's, it is up there on, SAS watch lists as being something to watch, in the same way that, if you're an Antarctic research scientist, you watch The Thing.
Yeah. So I think probably actually the sort of the last half hour, if you're in the SAS, is probably quite jolly. I wonder if they've ever tried to do the balcony death.
I bet they've tried to do that.
How else are you passing the time at Hereford if you're not trying to hit a target while abseiling?
And don't we all secretly want our job to be standing by a Land Rover, watching people machine gun dummies after forcibly blowing up a building, and then just shouting again and getting a colonel's salary for doing that?
Yeah, no. So this does completely change. This does make the SAS into one of the world's best known fighting forces. Whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing is a more interesting question, possibly. Worth dying for. Who shall I go to first? I think perhaps we'll have the case of the prosecution. Duncan.
I mean, no. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, the thing is, I watched it 72 hours ago, so I'm not in a rush to watch it again. But if I'm flicking through channels, which does happen very occasionally nowadays, not streaming, and I see this, and if I'm in the last 30 minutes, I would gladly sit down and watch it. Because, I mean, Rob's right. He's a great action director, doing some incredibly fun action sequences, which are very enjoyable, and I will happily watch that. But honestly, the first hour and a half, I don't really want to see that again.
But what about the performance art?
Paul, make the case for the defence.
The case for the defence is very simply, I enjoyed this film. I'm not going to dictate to other people that they should do so, but I am bound to enjoy this film. I broadly like everything about it. It is just early 80s, slightly jingoistic fun. And that's what it should always be viewed as. Yeah. I am not putting forward a case here for Schindler's List. I am putting a case here for a fun Saturday afternoon action flick in the realms of like things like Golden Rendezvous and that sort of thing that you would see on ITV on a Saturday afternoon with all the swearing taken out of it. And there you go. Yeah. And if, like, as I said, with my caveat that as soon as you see the words Ewan Lloyd appear on the screen, you know what you're going to get, and it delivers until you get to Wild Geese 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Duncan. Call me in for the last half hour. I think the last half hour is great. I honestly don't know what happened with the first 90 minutes.
It generated an hour of rage from you, Rob. That's what it did. You turned my podcast into three guys chatting about war movies. I like to think I've turned your podcast into you guys getting angry.
On that note, we're going to climb back into our helicopters and fly back to Hereford and possibly pushing Paul out on the way. You can meet us all at the IWM's Podcast Festival on the 1st of November. Tickets everywhere. You can listen to Paul's History Rage podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Paul, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been an absolute honour and a privilege, gentlemen. I hope to do so again. This time I'll pick a better film.
Yeah, you will have to.
Right, Wild Geese 2 it is.
Duncan, thanks as ever.
And thank you to everyone for listening.
Thanks to everyone for listening. Next week, it's Torture and Revolution as we watch the Battle of Algiers. It's currently on Prime, as indeed is the film we're doing the week after, 1917. If you've got thoughts about either of those or anything that you think we ought to be doing, drop us a line at warmovietheatre@gmail.com.